One of the most common questions I receive through my work is, what are ethics? Simply put, ethics are decision-making frameworks, a means of articulating the objective you're trying to achieve, critically analysing that objective to ensure it's the best one that you can achieve, and finally, and perhaps most importantly, ensuring that all of the things that you are doing, all of the time, effort and resources you're pouring into trying to achieve that objective are in fact going to achieve that objective. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a misconception that ethics are simply a matter of being nice, being pleasant to each other, being polite, or that ethics are simply a matter of following the law. Perhaps, in fact, one of the most common refrains I hear through my work is, but it's all legal. Ethics and the law are not the same thing. Law is a minimum standard of behaviour established by the state to ensure that everything can function properly. Ethics, by contrast, are quite different. Ethics are the highest standard of behaviour that can be expected from a person. The distinction between should and must. What must I do? What should I do? And therefore, what shouldn't I do? Ethics, as a result, should not be treated as an abstract concept, a matter of opinion, or subjective. Your favourite flavour of ice cream? That's a matter of opinion, and it's entirely up to you. What you should do in a high-stakes situation where there's going to be serious consequences for one action versus another, that's a matter for evidence. Ethics should be evidence-driven, highly logical, using various frameworks to achieve that, and therefore contributing to the best possible outcome we can achieve. You do this all the time, but you may not be aware of it. Every single time you make a decision, you're engaging with ethics, decision-making frameworks. The problem is that this nearly always takes place subconsciously. A really good example of this is jaywalking. Very standard behavior everyone does, very low consequence. But if I was to ask you after you'd done that, why did you cross the road illegally? You might be able to give me a reasoning, but could you tell me how you made that decision? What was the process for determining whether or not you did the act at the time? Because you don't do it every time, so there must be some sort of process you use to determine what the approach is and when it's a good time to do it. Even weirder, imagine if I got you before you crossed over the road and asked you to explain to me the process you were using then in order to decide whether or not you crossed or not. It sounds ridiculous, but it is happening because you are making that decision. And thus we begin to see the necessity of clarity in this process. And that is exactly what Ethilogical aims to assist you with. Determining with clarity what it is you are trying to achieve. To critically analyze that objective and ensure that it is in fact the best one you can achieve. And finally, and most importantly, to ensure that every piece of effort that you contribute towards that objective will actually achieve that objective. Clarity in purpose and process.